I think we have to wait for the Robert Mueller investigation to be completed, because then we'll know the full extent of the evidence with regard to what happened in the campaign, if there was an effort made to collude or work with the Russians to impact an American election. We'll also know, I think, a lot more about what has happened since then. Some of the evidence, there is some evidence of obstruction. Whether that rises to the level of a crime or not, we're not certain. But I think we have to wait to see that report. And then the Congress and frankly the American people have to decide what would be the next step if the president or any other official has to be held accountable. I think that remains to be seen. I do think that there's an imperative to confront China on a whole range of issues. China's been cheating on trade deals and manipulating their currency and undermining our economy for a long time now. So being more confrontational with China, I think, is important. The president, unfortunately, has been, in implementing that strategy and other related strategies, has been impulsive and hasn't developed a consensus here to confront China in an appropriate way, and has not developed a consensus between and among our allies. And that's made it difficult, I think, to hold China accountable when they cheat. One of the things we could do in the short run is to use the tax code to give the middle class a substantial, and I would even hope unprecedented, tax break. That wouldn't be a wage increase per se, but it would be the equivalent of that, or would approximate a wage increase. But long term, we have to make sure that more children can read before they get to kindergarten. Early learning is essential. I've often said, if you learn more now, you will earn more later. It's not just a nice rhyme. All the data shows that's true. So I think we have to make a national commitment to early learning. We also have to pay greater attention to strategies like those that are part of the career and technical education bill that I worked on with Senator Enzi. We passed a bipartisan bill. First time that that program's been reauthorized in 12 years. The president signed it into law just a couple of weeks ago. That career and technical education bill will allow us to have a higher trained workforce, and a workforce that's ready for the jobs of the future. Well, I think there are a number of things that we do well every day in our office to help constituents. Just in this term in the Senate, my office has opened and closed more than 30,000 constituent cases. But in terms of legislation, I think probably the two that stand out the most are the ABLE Act, which helps people with disabilities save in a tax-advantaged way for their disability. That was not permitted under law until we changed that. That will affect families across the country. And also the Campus Save Act, which put into place requirements that colleges and universities have to follow to protect women on campus from sexual assault and to give them the help when they become a survivor of sexual assault. So those two bills, I think, will affect people around the country, and I'm particularly proud of both. One of the biggest challenges is to make sure that we have a strategy in criminal justice that focuses on violent offenders and not just a mass incarceration of nonviolent offenders. Too often that's happened in the past. We need to focus on those that pose a threat to society, a threat to our communities, and that's the violent offenders. And to make sure that we're doing everything possible to inspire confidence in our system of justice. That means having courts that function well and deliver justice, and making sure that law enforcement has the training to focus on those violent offenders, and has the resources they need to do their job well to protect us. Too often we've had conflicts between the police and communities. We've got to take steps to reduce that kind of tension and conflict, and inspire confidence in the system.